Hi everyone, welcome back to my experience with Lenomarch. I'm going to do days 4, 5 and hopefully squeeze in 6 without making this vid too long. So I actually don't have many decks. The one that I purchased in that beautiful Mystic Journey bookstore in Venice Beach, was this one here, the mystical Lenormart. And I think for myself, I saw this box and I'm an astrologer. I love animals and there's this beautiful cat sitting there. You know, the globe, the telescope, it really appealed to me. And of course I opened it up and I saw this gorgeous artwork. I really loved it and was very, very happy with my purchase. I didn't even understand then how some artwork with some decks can be a little bit tricky or things are not clear. Because I really didn't know what Lenormart was about. I just thought, oh, they're like gypsy cards. I think they're beautiful. But I guess there's an irony in that, because considering they are my first deck, I was brought up on them, so to speak. I don't have that issue that some people do have with this particular deck. So we'll get back to that because that's one of the other questions. But anyhow, this is my first deck purchased in the States and it's very special and it's such a handy size and I really do love it, always will. When I returned to Australia, I came across this. It was the In Thing. Of course, the Gilded Reverie was released. I loved the fact that it came in this gorgeous little box. But more than anything, I'm just one of those people, rather than collecting and collecting and collecting, which I could do if I let myself go wild, I just like to collect decks that have different types of artwork. So not, you know, a whole bunch of, say, Blue Owl lookalikes. Blue Owl Lenormart is beautiful, but I don't particularly need 4 or 5 traditional style artwork decks. For me, it's yeah. So when I saw this, I loved the vibrant colours. I know this is not everybody's cup of tea, but I just thought, wow, that's so different to the mystical, and I love the clarity. And it even surprised me that clients that I know that I thought would be into the traditional artwork still really love this deck, so that was surprising. The clarity of the numbers, like you just can't mistake it. You know exactly where you are at with this deck. But of course, at that time, I didn't think about the size. Of course, if you choose to do a grand tableau, you need quite a space. And I have been for the last 4 years, up until the end of last year, working in a metaphysical bookstore, and the table was nowhere near big enough to do a grand tableau with this particular deck. But as I explained in my last post, I haven't done a great deal with them. So I would just do some small 3 or 5 card spreads if I did happen to use them. But I still love them. I think they're beautiful. And I just love the brightness of the colours. And so then when just last week I received this beautiful deck called Whisper Lenormart. And because, again, I wanted something different to the other decks that I have, I am so pleased I found these. Just happened to stumble onto an image that came up on one of the Facebook groups. And I thought, this is beautiful. So I did do a little deck walkthrough. So feel free to have a look because they are just gorgeous. And again, they're very, very easy to understand. You know the numbers. You can't go wrong. They have the card associations. So no complaints whatsoever. I think the card stock is beautiful. It's like a linen style stock. They're magical. And I was just looking for something that had that soft antique-y look to it rather than simply old style. Sorry, I've got the light on here and it's not ideal, so that's a bit better. So that one I have. Now I'm trying to remember in which order. After I purchased these guys, I actually came across carrieparis.com, and these beautiful little cards I still adore. It's a website where you are invited to print out your own copy of this beautiful Lenormart deck. I love the size, I love the artwork, I love the color, and so that I did. by mistake, I meant to print this out on photo paper, and I didn't. I just printed it out on, because I took it to my local Office Works, and I said the wrong thing. I said just the thickest stock you've got, but that's still not photo paper. But you know, none of them have ever ripped. I'm very careful with them. I love their size, and you can do a grand tableau anywhere you choose. And I found this little tin with, ironically, the Eiffel Tower, Paris. So they're the Carrie Paris cards that anyone, I think this is just such a wonderful gesture, because if you really want to embrace a different style of Lenormart and you can't afford to buy another deck, my goodness, you just need, you know, a decent piece of paper or three and just cut them out. You could laminate them. I'm yet to do that, but I just use them carefully. But I've even invited some clients that I know well to use them, because I knew that they would be careful with them. And other than that, I cannot remember the name of these. These were little buttons that were for sale. You know, it's so annoying because I can see the website in my mind, but I just can't think. So I'm so sorry to the wonderful person that created these little buttons. These are not the little buttons. This is just a printout. And again, I just did this for myself. Sorry about the wobbles then. It's just on paper with a little bit of, I'm going to say tape. But yeah, just like a thick packing tape that I put over them. I just spray painted the back, and I know it's just like so basic, but I just did these to practice with, and I loved the fact that they're so tiny. But the thing is, you can see every single one. We'll pick these up there. Like, it's so fine, but oops, that's the scythe. But I mean, it's obvious it's the scythe. You know, the bear, the man, the child, the sun, the coffin, the birds, the stars. We all know there's the mountain, that's the garden. And they fit into this teeny tiny little tin that, once again, I can carry around with me. I love tins, have you guessed? So I carry them around. But again, because I've printed them out, I did not purchase the buttons, not because I didn't like them, but in Australian dollars, or was it American dollars? They were $50 at the time, and it was just a bit over my budget right then. But I just use these to practice. You could do a grand tableau on a saucer. So I love the idea, because obviously they're like charms. You put them in a bag and draw them out. I think that's fantastic. So that's it. There's not a lot to my collection, but I'm okay with that. I'm only beginning to embrace my journey with Lenormart again now. So we'll see how it goes. Now, I know one of the questions, I'm just stretching around here to see my laptop. What Lenormart decks do you have or had that didn't work? Okay, so the question is, what did you have, or what do you have, or what did you have that did not work? Again, these are the decks I own. I've never given any away or parted with any by sale or whatever. I don't have any issues with the decks that I have, although I'll say there's a minor do I want to say issue? But let's just say there's a minor issue with these cards here, in that I know a lot of people don't like the artwork because they say it's too busy. For example, the house in this deck has a peacock out the front and a bird and this, that and the other, bit of nature. I don't have it out here, do I? Yes, I do. There we go. So this card here, as you can see, it's very much a house, but that might be an owl or a hawk, and there's a peacock. So some people might get a little bit confused by that. For me, I bought this deck, I bought a book, and I learned what the cards meant. So it has never been a problem, but I certainly do understand why someone might say to a beginner, you know, rather than buy this, buy something like this. This is clean and clear, you know, garden, bouquet, fox, sun, anchor. There's no two ways about it. And I have to agree in that there are some decks that I've seen for cards like the anchor, where there's anchor and a ship and a bird and you think, wow, is that the anchor or the ship or the child or the birds? Or I do really take that on board. So back to this deck, the only thing I'll say that I had a little bit of difficulty with are these here. The numbers you cannot see. So see here, There's number 20. We can see that. Yet on the tree, that's quite difficult to see the number 5. When you're starting out, there's also astrological glyphs on these cards, which is what I love about them, but you can't see them. The number on the dog, very difficult. The number on the tower you can see, but it's very, There's the 19. The bear, that's not ideal. And I'm just not sure why nobody thought of that. Like, wouldn't you put, say, if you wanted to match the numbers, do the same color on the darker cards as the border, perhaps? So for a beginner, I'd say that would be the only issue that I have. But again, if you're like me, you just learn the cards, you learn the numbers, there's no problemo understanding which card is which. Although, if I wanted to delve into my book, so you'd pick the bear and you don't remember what number it is, and of course I've got all the book here with the numbers, then it is a bit of a pain in the neck. So I'll say that's probably the only thing I have, but I have no intention of letting those beautiful cards go. And, oh my gosh, sorry, that's a little bit wonky. And so what makes a good deck? Well, exactly that, clarity. Keeping it simple, clear images, but beautiful artwork. They don't have to be that plain and simple where it's, you know, you're going to stick figures. I think it's just a personal preference as to the artwork you like, but I would say out of all of them, this style of artwork, I think, not only suits the Lenormarch, but it is just beautiful in every way. Now, I'm just going to do question 6 before I go, before this gets too long, but it's just asking about wish list. Well, when do I not have a wish list? So I discovered only, I think last week, when Kelly from The Truth in Story used her Black Hand deck. Oh, I absolutely love them and must have them, and I jumped online and they're sold out. So, crying. I just wrote to her on, Shelley Barnes, is that the lady's name? I wrote to her on her Instagram page and asked her if she will be doing another print run. I'm praying. I think they are absolutely stunning. And again, they're different to the decks I have. I still love the Celtic Lenormand. I think they are beautiful. I'm looking forward to looking into the Fairy Tale Lenormand that's on its way as well by Lisa Hunt. I think that's beautiful from what I see. One of the older decks that I really love is the Esmeralda. And also Rana George, who wrote the Essential Lenormand. She is releasing a deck soon, and she recently mentioned it on the Facebook Lenormand study group, and I said, when is soon? And she said soon. So that's as far as I got with that. I'm looking forward to seeing her deck. I think the colours like this are going to be beautiful and rich. So I'm definitely on the lookout. I'd say a big shout out to the Blue Owl. I think that's a beautiful deck for say a traditional style of artwork, and fantastic for beginners and professionals alike. I think Under the Roses is beautiful and was on my wish list for such a long time, but I'm not going to rush in because I think there's so many beautiful new decks coming out. The Melissa deck, I really understand why it is too busy for some people, but I think the artwork is beautiful. But I really do get, nobody here was talking about it. I really do understand why for some people it wouldn't work, but I think it's stunning. And the only other one that I'd say, a deck that doesn't really work for me, but I love the artwork, which sounds like an oxymoron, but it's the Enchanted Oracle. For me, it's just too busy. I know it's like the image in the center, which I presume you're looking into a crystal ball. I love the images. I think they are stunning, but the majority of the card is pattern, so it's kind of like border, this huge amount of fancy border. So I think that would be the one deck that I could honestly say for me it's just not working, but I know it's very, very popular and very well respected by many. So I think I had better leave it at that before this becomes a 3-part mini series. So thank you so much again for bearing with me. I'm doing such a major catch up so I can stay on time with everyone from tomorrow on. So again, have a wonderful day or eve, and I look forward to chatting again real soon. Bye for now.